Welcome to another episode of JC Unplugged. And if you love the 80s, you're going to love this episode. Coming up here in Las Vegas, we've got Howard Jones, Wang Chung, Modern English, and English Beat, all performing in concert. It's a huge 80s concert that's taking place. And I've got two of those artists on the show today. We have Howard Jones, who's actually headlining the show, and we also have Wang Chung. We're going to start off with Jack Hues. He's a founding member of Wang Chung. You know the songs, Dance Hall Days, Let's Go. Everybody have fun tonight. We talk about all of the hits and more. So let's start off with Jack Hues from the band Wang Chung. Jack Hues, Wang Chung, my friend, how are you feeling today, buddy?
Pretty good, actually. Just arrived in Hollywood last night.
All
So,
right.
yeah, so it's always good to be here.
We can't wait to have you in Las Vegas. Let's get to it. We already rattled off the hits, but everybody have fun tonight.
Uh-huh.
Dance Hall Days, Let's Go. Songs that came out 40 plus years ago,
That's for
they
sure.
still stand the test of time today. How does
Yeah.
that make you feel?
Well, incredible. I think the legacy of rock music, I guess it starts with Elvis in a way, and maybe, well, I guess it's still going, but in a sense that there's a
No,
central kind of thing that, you know, up to about 2005 or something like that. But I love that Wang Chung is part of that legacy, and the music still used in movies and still used to sort of like evoke the sense of the 80s.
yeah, there's such, anytime I hear it, it takes me back to the 80s. The
Yeah,
songs stand the test of time. Everybody Have Fun Tonight comes on the radio, and I hear it. I immediately get in a good mood. My energy picks up.
yeah,
But I want to ask you about Dance Hall Days. And maybe
yeah.
this was just like an 80s rumor thing.
Uh-huh.
Was Michael Jackson considering doing that song?
That's right. Yeah, we had a
Oh, he
meeting with
was.
Quincy Jones. Yeah, and they were interested in Dancehall Days for Thriller, which would have been a nice little earner, as they say. But they said just one thing. We need you to change the lyrics because it's kind of a bit weird for Michael's audience. And I think at the time Nick and I were just like not really. We just sort of arrived in LA in a sense, and yeah, we it's not like I said I'm not changing the lyric, but I never really made a big effort to do that. And I think also that they passed on to other things as well. But it was nice that the song was in their sights for a while.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
don't have to answer this question if you don't want to. I'll take it
sure.
out. But let's say, does one earn more money by writing a hit song for Michael Jackson or earn money having the song as their own through the years?
I guess if that song had been on Thriller, that would have earned a chunk of money. But I think in a way we probably did the right thing in terms of the longevity of Wang Chung and the identity of the song being linked to us, rather than to Michael. But who knows? I guess I shouldn't say I'm not in it for the money. But the money is nice. Do you know what I mean? But the fact that we're still doing it in the way that we do, I think means we're in it for the music, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, and it's such an iconic song that when I
Yeah,
hear that song, that is Wang Chung, that is no one else. Michael Jackson, legend, but Wang
yeah,
Chung and Dance Hall Days, that is you guys. That is you guys.
absolutely. Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you record that song or that album in Abbey Road Studios?
We did, yeah, yeah. We were in Abbey Road Studio 2. When we The producer of that album was Chris Hughes, working with Ross Cullen. Chris had just finished The Hurting for Tears for Fears, and Nick and I love Mad World and that record, So we had a meeting with Chris, but the thing that really connected us was the Beatles. He was a huge fan, so was I and Nick, and we spent like what should have been a half-hour meeting was like a 6-hour kind of hangout talking about. In those days, you couldn't get access to the sort of outtakes and the demos and stuff, and he had a bunch of that stuff. But yeah, recording in Studio 2 was a deliberate kind of trying to bring that energy into what we were doing. And it's an incredible time. Studio 2 still looked like it did when the Beatles recorded there. Yeah,
That's a trip. How
yeah,
big were soundtracks for you guys? Because I remember watching Breakfast Club, and was it
yeah,
a Twilight in the Fire in the
yeah.
Twilight?
Fire into Twilight, yeah,
In such the iconic scene when they're trying to escape the principal and running through the
yeah.
school. How big were soundtracks for you to be a part of in the 80s?
Well, it was a really big thing for us. I never quite sure quite what it was, but I think Freakin' with To Live and Die in LA loved Wait from Points on the Curve, and I suppose there is a sort of slightly cinematic kind of sense to the songs, and there's a lot of atmosphere in our songs as well. I think so. I think movie producers are drawn to that. But Fire in the Twilight was a song that was written especially for the movie by other writers. They sent us the song, and we sort of messed around with it a bit actually, and added some sections and changed the lyrics. And but yeah, it was great to be asked to do that project.
Yeah, all these things, just iconic moments of the 80s. I remember you guys, the first ever MTV VMA Music Awards, 1984,
Uh,
nominated for Best New Artist. Were you guys at the show that night? And
yeah, we were.
what was it like
Yeah.
for you when MTV came on the scene? Did you feel like you had to change as a band and focus more on music videos?
It was a strange thing for us in a way, because I grew up listening to, the Beatles when I was a kid, but then like Yes and Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, those sort of bands, they weren't terribly interested in their image. I mean, obviously they had an image, but they weren't. You can't imagine Led Zeppelin making a music video. Do you know what I mean? It's like, So when we were doing it, it was a strange thing. I sort of left it to the directors to a large extent. I had no kind of like training at all in terms of acting or how to move, all that stuff that kids these days really understand, and so we just sort of dived into it. But certainly MTV was the most incredible thing for Wang Chung because it was a nationwide heavy rotation thing with our music, and they supported us right through, so it was an amazing thing.
I love that. You've been asked this question 1,000 times. The name
Yeah.
Wang Chung.
Mhm.
I love the name because you can't when you hear it, you're kind of like, okay, you don't know, is it metal? Like Iron Maiden, you know what Iron Maiden
Yeah.
could be. Wang Chung, the hearing of it the first time as a kid, I'm like, what is Wang Chung? What's the music like? For our audience, the name,
Yeah.
the meaning, what's behind Wang Chung?
I guess we were, looking for Nick and I had various bands, in London before we did Wang Chung, and I just came up with this name in a very whimsical kind of way, not really thinking too much about it. I just liked it because it probably in the way, people just it's sort of a catchy name, and it also doesn't have any baggage with it in that sense because it, like you say, it doesn't. What sort of band is it? You know what I mean? It doesn't even make you think it's a band. I think in the UK that was a bit of a problem because people felt a bit alienated by it, but in the US, I think people were curious about it and wanted to, and I think that was the thing with Wang Chung. It sort of draws you in, and then once you get in, you sort of think, actually, there's some quite interesting things here, beyond the hits and all of that stuff, And I know with Billy, that was Bill Friedkin, that is, he was intrigued by all that stuff.
Well, when we heard it here in the States, we ate it up. Give me more. I can't get enough Wang Chung. You can't
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
we ate it up. Was there? Did I dream this? But in the '80s, did you guys do a promo with ABC instead of "Everybody Have Fun Tonight"? It was "Everybody ABC Tonight." Did I dream that?
You may have done some Mandela effect. Maybe on some timeline we did. I know we did a sort of Budweiser commercial, and but I think that was with again, we wrote some music specifically for that
Yeah.
commercial, I think. But I think that the Everybody Have Fun Tonight has been used in so many different things, from birthday cards to advertising, whatever. So,
Seriously, that's my motto in life. Everybody have fun tonight. This
I'm
this
glad
show this weekend, we have Howard Jones, we've got you, we've got
yeah.
Modern English, we got English Beat.
Mhm.
What a lineup! What a show! Do you ever like step back and watch some of your fellow artists perform on stage?
Oh yeah,
Oh, who are you
yeah,
looking
yeah.
forward to this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the early days of it, so I haven't seen all of Howard's show. I've seen a few songs, but he's great what he does. It's a very intimate show actually, and he plays piano a lot, and there's beautiful songs. It's great. Modern English are much more kind of like sort of punk, and but they got a great guitar player and a great attitude from all of them, and then English Beat we've done a lot of work with over the years, and they're just like a great good time band.
It's going to be awesome. Well, Jack, thank you so much for joining us. But more importantly, I'm a product of the '80s. I love '80s music. I love '80s movies. I love everything about it. So thank you for being an architect, a founding
Pleasure.
father of my
Let me
childhood.
just show you this before you go. This is the new 40th anniversary edition of To Live and Die in LA. Yeah.
That's
So these
crazy.
arrived for us just during the week. So it's got the nice poster on the back with the 40th
Yes.
anniversary thing. And yeah, beautiful inside sleeve.
And that's
And it's,
available now?
yeah, you can pre-order it on interscope.com.
Okay.
And yeah, it's going to be released officially on July 31st. So pretty soon.
Wow. And
Yeah.
that's also just a great soundtrack. Just like cruising here through Las Vegas to put some of those songs on. It's
It's
just
very cool, and it sounds better than ever. It's been remastered, and there's also some remixes and a couple of demos that we did at the time that didn't make it onto the soundtrack. So,
oh,
but they're from that spirit, if you know what I mean. So,
you officially you're the soundtrack of my childhood and now the soundtrack of my adulthood. So thank you so
well,
much.
that's good.
Thank
Great.
you so
We
much,
made
my
both
friend. Have fun
things.
on Sunday. We'll see you, buddy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jake. JC.
Awesome. Well, that was so cool talking to Jack and the fact that Michael Jackson almost recorded Dance Hall Days. They talk about changing the trajectory of music. That would have been crazy if he did that. And the fact that to live and die in LA, you can it's been reissued this year, which is pretty cool. So that was Wang Chung, Jack Hues from Wang Chung. Let's go to Howard Jones, who's headlining this huge 80s show coming up at Resorts World. So here he is, Howard Jones. I'll tell you what, things are good in the world when Howard Jones has new music out, when Howard Jones is on tour. Howard Jones, welcome to Las Vegas now. I got to start with the new single, Stand Up. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. It's like a 80s synth, but like with a modern vibe. How does it feel to have new music out?
Oh, well, thank you so much for saying that because it's always a bit, funny putting out a new work because people like always compare it to the ones they know. But yeah, but it was such fun to make this record because what I did was one of my favorite synths of all time, the Jupiter 8. I'd recently got it fixed and was playing around with it in the studio, and my manager said to me, he said, you really should do a track, you just using the Jupiter 8 because it sounds so good. So that's what I did with Stand Up, and also we're going to play it live on the tour at the beginning of the show. Get everyone on their feet. I mean, what better? Hopefully that's going to work.
Yeah, literally stand up and listen to Howard
Yeah,
Jones perform.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a song about stand up. You are somebody. Don't let no one put you down. It's about having confidence in who we are and not being pushed around. So I feel that's the sentiment of the song as well. So I hope people get that.
Yeah, no, it's a great
Mm.
message. The song's a great message, but it's just listening to it. I'm a product of the '80s. I love the '80s, and it just kind of was like it was weird. It was like a time machine that took me back to listening to a new song in the '80s, but at the same time, I felt like I was listening to something current on the radio. So it was kind of a weird mind thing. It's
Oh,
such an awesome song. So congrats on that. This
oh,
tour,
thank
you
you.
got Wang Chung, English
Yeah,
Beat, and Modern
yeah,
English touring with you.
yeah.
Who put this
Yes.
together? This is like the '80s super tour happening.
Well, this is the idea that I always dreamt of having my own sort of branded tour where I could invite some of my favorite artists and bands to join me on the road and look after them and respect them properly. And so yeah, so that's what we've done, and we hope to make it like a yearly thing where I invite other people to join us. But this is a fantastic lineup, and I know all the people in these bands, so it should be just a hell of a night for everyone.
It's going to be a
Yeah,
blast. Okay, here's
yeah,
a question. Things can
yeah,
only get better. No one is
yeah,
to blame. What is
yeah,
love? I mean, so many hit songs that you put out in the '80s. Is there,
yeah.
out of the lot of all the hits you put out, is there one standout special one to you? And if so, which one is it?
Um, it does vary. My answers vary on this. At the moment, obviously, it's things can only get better because that is the message of the tour and seems so relevant at this time, that we're living through. That and for to have hope in the future, even over it's difficult to do that sometimes, but to have hope because if we don't, then we don't have the energy to change things and stand up for things and see society go in the way that we want it to go. So I would say things can only get better. I'm so glad that I wrote that song. Yeah.
It still has meaning today. You answer that like a parent that has multiple kids. It's my favorite child at the moment is the one that's behaving.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, obviously, the fans would say hide and seek is their favorite one because that's the one I did at Live Aid, and it's a very, sort of thoughtful song. Yeah, that's what the fans would say. But me at the moment, it's Things is the one.
Well, can you believe this? You mentioned Live Aid. Live Aid was 41
Yeah,
years ago this week. Were
yeah.
you in the Philly show or were you in where were you? Which show were you in?
Yeah, I was in the London show. But weirdly, I was touring America at the time, and I cancelled a couple of shows to go back and do it in the UK because that's where I mean, that's where I come from. So I thought I should be there. So, yeah, yeah, we did it in London. It was amazing. It was amazing.
It
I
was
can remember every second.
I was gonna say it was such a special. My uncle went to the one in Philadelphia. And I just remember I was so
Yeah,
excited for him to go, and he came back
yeah,
telling stories because we didn't have social media to take pictures and videos and
mm,
everything. So it was just him telling stories, and obviously watching it was live on TV. I think over 1 billion people
yeah,
watched it live.
yeah,
Do you remember
yeah.
where were you positioned in it? Like in between who? Do you remember where you were in the lineup?
Yeah, I was on just after Phil Collins, and just before he went off to get on board the Concorde to fly to Philadelphia because he did both. Yeah, yeah, that's that's pretty impressive.
That's yeah.
So,
Kids might
but
not know that Phil Collins performed at 2 concerts in 2 different continents. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, that's right. And he said to me because we were playing Freddie Mercury's piano, both of us, and he said, "Oh, watch out! There's some sticky notes at the bottom there, so make sure you are aware of that," which actually made me even more nervous. But it was great. Yeah, no, it's great. I really, got a great relationship with Phil because he produced No One Is to Blame, and we did lots of work on the Princess Trust shows. So yeah, he's a great guy, Phil. I love him.
But so it was Phil Collins, you, and then who came after you?
I really don't remember who came after me because I was probably so like spaced out with jet lag and also adrenaline that um, I mean I don't remember who came after me. We would have been a band probably because me and Phil would just played at the piano, so it was a more intimate thing. But I got to meet David Bowie that day and hang out with Paul McCartney and Linda McCartney and Pete Townsend, and it was just one of those days that I'll never forget. I don't think anybody will either forget that. And the people who watched it still talk about it, getting up early to see all the bands play and stuff. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, there'll never be anything like that again. We just can't. We're not in that same era. Social media, so much
Yeah,
has changed from that. But
yeah,
you mentioned being
yeah.
so
I mean,
excited. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I was going to say in a way it was so unique because it was the first global event. That literally most countries in the world could actually watch it, and it united the world, and it was for a reason, to try and help people on the other side of the planet. Um, and so music was being put to great use that day, and the power of artists and their music to bring people together. Because music just transcends languages and geographical boundaries. So it was the perfect vehicle, really. So that's what I think was the great significance of it.
Well, also too, I think maybe egos too. We might not be able to pull it off because what
Yeah,
you just mentioned
yeah,
too. You and Phil Collins were using Freddie Mercury's piano. It sounds like you
yeah.
all just came together as one big family. I'm sure there's you need a couple things backstage, but there's probably no over-the-top riders. Yeah, use my piano. It'll make it easier. That's not going to happen today. It's a really cool nugget that you shared with us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You have to hand it to Bob Geldof because he twisted everyone's arm to do it. And once some people had said yes, then everyone was, you had to be involved. And I think most people were very glad that they were involved because it was such a significant event. But yeah, it was amazing to pull the event off. And it was just one guy, Bob Geldof, getting very angry about people dying unnecessarily, and using that anger to create something of great value, So hats off to Bob and Midge as well, of course.
Well,
Yeah.
hats off to you and everyone that performed it. And here I am, a fan, 40 years after this fact, still excited to hear your music and to chat with you. What's it like, though, for you when you have new fans, younger fans like kids and teens, being introduced to your music through shows like Stranger Things and everything else? What's it like for you to see, a whole new
Oh,
generation of fans coming up?
that is a huge thrill for me because I think that for any artist who wants to be around for a while, um, to do that, you really need to connect with multiple generations. And I've seen that happen with people like, Elton John and, how there's every age is at his shows, and I would love to achieve that as well. I mean, when I see young people out in the audience dancing and singing along, it's the biggest thrill because for them it's new music. They're coming to it for the first time, and yeah, I mean, I hope that continues. I really would like that to happen more. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Howard, thank you so much. Like I said, I'm a product of the '80s. It was a special time for me, special time for an entire generation. Thank you for being an architect of that decade for all of us. We appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you here in Las Vegas at Resorts World. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing the interview.
That was awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I could listen to those stories from Howard Jones talking about Live Aid all day long. Wild the fact that him and Phil Collins shared Freddie Mercury's piano at Live Aid. Crazy stuff. And yes, my uncle was there. He had a shirt from Live Aid that I still wish I could find to this day, but I can't. All right. Thank you for watching JC Unplugged. Hope you enjoyed the episode.